The difference. This is Akidibo News, 88.7 FM, the people's voice.
This is Kunle Amzat Studio, Akidibo 88.7 FM. Welcome to News Around the World.
Good evening. Welcome to the news around the world on the most listened to radio station, Gidibo 88.7 FM Ibadan. I am OLUWATOSIN OLOGUN. First deadlines. Presidency defends why Tinubu consoled Plateau victims at Jos airports. Makinde stores newly crowned Obas in Ibadan. Reform UK housing chief sacked over deeply humanizing Greenfield comments. US fighter shot down over Iran as Trump threatens to eat more infrastructure. Electoral committee vows to conduct the best NFF elections ever. Now the details. The presidency has defended President Bola Tinubu's decision to meet victims of the Plateau State killings at a hall adjoining the Yakubu Gowon Airport rather than driving into Jos Township, citing flight restrictions and logistical constraints as a reason for the rearrangement. In a statement by a special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Chief Bayo Ononuga today, the presidency said the runway at the airport does not support night flights due to the absence of navigational aids, making it impossible for Tinubu to visit Rukuba, drive back to the airport, and depart before dusk. The visit came days after gunmen attacked the Angwa Rukuba district of Jos North local government area on Palm Sunday, killing at least 28 people in one of the deadliest outbreaks of violence in the state in recent years. The presidency also explained the delay in Tinubu's departure for Jos. The meeting, which centered on strengthening collaboration between Nigeria and Chad on security cooperation, ran longer than expected, pushing back his scheduled departure. Roadside markets are a common sight in many Nigerian urban cities and rural communities. In many markets across the ancient city of Ibadan, vendors risk their lives and goods just to make ends meet. But why do they do this? This report explores the motivations behind roadside selling and how buyers respond to these vendors. Agidibo FM News correspondent Rukayat Aziz takes a closer look at the dangers of roadside shops and marketers.
In Nigeria's bustling cities, roadside markets thrive despite the risks involved for the sellers and buyers. Despite the fact that many marketmen and women own proper shops and stores, many of them prefer to market their goods on the roadside. But what drives them to take such risks? How many Nigerians go inside proper stores and shops to buy goods? How well is the current administration clamping down on roadside sellers? These are questions begging for answer. Speaking with Agidibo FM, roadside store owners share their thoughts on roadside selling. A resident of Ibadan, Mr. Okosha, says that there is roadside selling in every country and that not everybody is going to buy in a supermarket.
If you go to Liverpool in London, there's roadside selling. Do the market for us. As long as it's not by the roadside, we may not go into that market because market only sells when people see it just as they are walking by. That is where there's market. So if you now go and give us somewhere like Emmanuel now and say we should be selling, people will not come there and buy. And we will not sell, we'll be frustrated, we will still come outside and sell because it is where people are rushing that there is market.
In our own view, Mrs. Iyola said that there are dangers in selling things on the roadside, saying anything could go wrong.
Selling goods on roadside because the brake of a car can fail and it can lead to accidents for those buying and also selling on the roadside. But not everyone can afford to rent a shop with how expensive it is.
Another resident, Mr. Ismail, talked about the fact that not all goods can be kept inside a store, adding that some goods are meant to be sold at the roadside to prevent them from getting spoiled.
Not every goods can be sold in a shop. Some goods cannot last more than 2 days, and they can get spoiled when left in the shop.
As long as buyers keep coming, roadside market will likely persist. With vendors adapting to demand, this market remain a feature in Nigeria's cities. Rukayat Aziz, Agidigbo FM News.
The Oyo State Governor, Engineer Oluseyi Abiodun Makinde, has formally installed Oba Akeem Adewoyi, Oba Oyekola Babalola, and Oba Sharafaddin Ali as crown-beaded Obas within the OLUWATOSIN Council. The governor, who made the pronouncement in accordance with the state chieftaincy law, urged the newly elevated monarchs to lead with wisdom, uphold integrity, and promote unity across their respective domains. Duties of the event held at the ancient Mapo Hall, Ibadan, are presented by Agidigbo FM News correspondent Oluwapemi Bamidele. Here's the report.
Drums rolled beneath the high arcs of Mapo Hall as flowing agbadas, choral beads, and horse airwicks painted the ancient venue in motion. Kings and chiefs in richly embroidered attires graced the historic Mapo Hall as it played host to dignitaries from across the state and beyond, who gathered to witness the coronation ceremony and presentation of staffs of office to the newly installed crown-wearing Obas in Ibadan land. The newly elevated chiefs are Oba Akeem Adewoyi, Ekerin Balogun of Ibadan land, Oba Oyekola Babalola SAN, Ekarun Olubadan of Ibadan land, and Oba Sharafaddin Ali, Ekarun Balogun of Ibadan land.
I hereby pronounce as crowned Oba Akeem Mobolaji Adewoyi as Ekerin Balogun Olubadan. I hereby also pronounce Oba Oyekola Babalola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as Ekarun Olubadan of Ibadan land. And I hereby pronounce Oba Sharafaddin Abiodun Ali as Ekarun Balogun of Ibadan land.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Distinguished ladies and
around the hall, the OLUWATOSIN Council sat fully assembled, their presence filling the gaps, but the three Obas to be elevated are not in sight. Yet kinship hung thick in the air, projected through titles, tradition, and music. Although the three were absent at the ceremony, their elevation from high chiefs to beaded wearing Obas is a historic milestone which represents a rare convergence of history, culture, and governance. Despite their absence, cultural performers surged forward, refusing to let the moment dim. Bata drum spoke, shekere moved, and dancers moved to lyrics of beautiful chants. The Oyo State Governor, Engineer Oluseyi Abiodun Makinde, represented by his deputy, Barrister Adebayo Lawa, who stood from his seat, was received by cheers as he addressed the people of Oyo State. The state governor, while speaking, stated that the ceremony was conducted in strict accordance to the provisions of the chieftaincy laws.
in line with the provision of Section 20, subsection 1 and 4 of the Chief Law of Oyo State, Cap 28, Volume 1, Laws of Oyo State of Nigeria 2000, and by virtue of all other powers enabling that behalf, vests the Executive Governor of Oyo State with the authority to confer beaded crowns on elevated high chiefs in Ibadan land.
The governor further reaffirmed his administration's commitment to strengthen collaboration with traditional rulers as a vital partner in promoting peace, security, and sustainable development across the states. In his royal aura, while delivering his spiritual seated, the Olubadan of Ibadan, His Imperial Majesty Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja, represented by Oba Tajuddin Ajibola, commended Governor Seyi Makinde for his efforts to further elevating the Ibadan chieftaincy heritage during his administration. The Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Matters, Honorable Ademola Hojo, stated that the event was not merely ceremonial, but a reaffirmation of the collective commitment to preserving the rich cultural heritage of Ibadan. Honorable Ademola Hojo also commended Governor Seyi Makinde for his steadfast support for traditional institutions as key partners in governance and peace building. Earlier in his goodwill message, the President General of the Central Council of Ibadan Indigenes, Sulaiman Ajewale, expressed appreciation to Governor Seyi Makinde for his efforts in preserving and promoting cultural heritage. Makbo Hall has once again hosted a scene where culture was not just spoken, but history made again, as it hosted top government functionaries and traditional rulers across the states. Oluwapemi Bamidele, Agidigbo FM News.
The chief imam of Agidigbo FM, Alhaji Yunus Zakaria Baba, has stressed the importance of showing mercy. During his sermon today, Imam Yunus cited notable individuals, including the chairman of Agidigbo FM, Dr. Oriyomi Hamzat, as a good example of merciful person, and further praised the act of showing mercy among individuals can contribute to the growth and development of the country.
Àwọn tó bá rí tí àtijọ́ àti mú sílé fún wọn nínú tọ́lọ́run ṣe fún wọn. Ọlọ́run sọ fún wa ní Quran 7, Surah Ibrahim, verse 34. Ó fi ń ròyìn bí orí òun Ọlọ́run àti bí ọrẹ wọn bó ṣe ràn bó ṣe kárí láàrin gbogbo àwọn ẹ̀dá. Pé kò sí ẹ̀dá kan nínú ayé tó wọ́n Ọlọ́run náwó ọrẹ wọn sí.
The chief imam therefore urged all to make kindness a daily habit, saying a compassionate society fosters peace, unity, and national growth. Now it's time to link up with our United Kingdom studio for the foreign news.
News from Kule Amza Studio, Agidigbo FM, United Kingdom. I am Zikrot Fasasi. The country's latest named Dave is here to bring damaging winds across northern parts of the United Kingdom, later from tomorrow and into Sunday, with some disruptive snow possible as well in northwest Scotland. The Meteorological Service Met Deputy Chief Forecaster Tom Crabtree said the storm will form and rapidly deepen on Saturday as it approaches the United Kingdom from the west, which can cause delays to road, rail, air, and ferry transport, while likely from 6 p.m. on Saturday until midday Sunday for Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales, and an area of Northern England. Forecaster also added that there was a chance of power cuts with the potential to affect other services, such as mobile phone coverage. However, the Met offices has thereby issued a number of medium-impact yellow severe weather warnings for wind across the area, which likely cause disruption for people traveling on what the RAC said could be the busiest Easter on the roads since 2022. Reform's new housing chief has been sacked over his comments about the death in 2017 at Grenfell Tower fire victims, which survivors' families called deeply dehumanizing. Mr. Dudley said yesterday that the building safety regulations introduced after the Grenfell fire, the family of the bereaved and Grenfell United, which represents some of the survivors and bereaved, has thereby responded to Mr. Dudley back in a statement that their loved ones did not simply die, but were failed. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Sir Keir Starmer, and opposition parties are thereby called for Simon Dudley to be sacked as Reform's new housing spokesman after he said the 72 deaths were a tragedy and a failure, but everyone dies in the end. And that ends the news from Kule Amza Studio, Agidigbo FM, United Kingdom. I am Zikrot Fasasi.
Welcome back. We shall also be moving to our Maryland studio, United States, for more foreign news.
News from Kole Amzat Studio at Gidigbo FM, United States. I am OLUWATOSIN, Sonia. President Donald Trump threatened to extend attacks on civilian infrastructure in Iran after a U.S. strike caught a major highway bridge, prompting a deviant response from Iran, which hit a water plant in Kuwait and said more would follow. Attacks on transport, power and water facilities, vital for the populations of Iran and the neighboring Gulf countries, risk deepening the war, which has already killed thousands and threatens to cause lasting damage to the world economy. Trump posted footage on social media showing dust and smoke billowing up as U.S. strikes hit the newly constructed B-1 bridge between Tehran and nearby Karaj, which was due to open to traffic this year. In response, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps said it would hit all assets of the Israeli regime and the U.S. in fuel, energy, economic centers, and power plants across the region. It said countries hosting U.S. bases should make them leave. Cuba's government announced that it will release 2010 prisoners in what it described as a humanitarian and sovereign gesture amid ongoing political pressure from the United States. A statement from the Cuban embassy in the United States said those to be released will include foreign nationals, young people, women, and individuals over the age of 60. It said the releases were being carried out in the context of the religious celebrations of Holy Week, describing it as a customary practices within the country's criminal justice system. Since returning to the White House, U.S. President Donald Trump has made it clear his desire to change Cuba's communist leadership and has blocked oil shipments to the island, causing several fuel shortages and widespread blackouts. And that ends the news from Kole Amzat Studio at Gidigbo FM, United States. I am OLUWATOSIN Soya.
Welcome back once again. In the exciting world of sports, the Nigeria Football Federation on Thursday inaugurated its Electoral Committee and Electoral Appeals Committee, which are saddled with the conduct and adjudication of complaints, petitions, and appeals of the elections into the NFF Executive Committee for the period 2026 to 2030. President of the NFF, Alhaji Ibrahim Musa Gusau, inaugurated the committees at the NFF Secretariat in Abuja, during which he charged them to discharge their duties creditably and with no fear or favor for any of the candidates. Barrister Matthew Bukar, a senior advocate of Nigeria who spoke on behalf of the committees, pledged that the two committees will accord the assignment the seriousness it deserves and conduct election that will be a marker for future polls in both the football sphere and the wider political space. Gusa also announced that in accordance with the provisions of the NFF statute, the NFF General Secretary Dr. Mohamed Sanusi will serve as Secretary of both committees, as this year's elections into the NFF Executive Committee will take place in Lafia, Nasarawa State on Saturday, September 26. To wrap up the news this evening, here is a recap of the headlines. Presidency defends why Tinubu consoled Plateau victims at Jos Airport. Makinde installs newly crowned Obas in Ibadan. Reform UK housing chief sacked over deeply dehumanizing Greenfield comments. US fighter shot down over Iran as Trump threatens to eat more infrastructure. Electoral Committee vows to conduct the best NFF elections ever. And before we go this evening, here's a quick tip. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Finally, we have come to the end of the news around the world on the most listened to radio station at Gidigbo 88.7 FM Ibadan. I am OLUWATOSIN OLOGUN. Thank you for listening. Good evening.
News is information, and information is power. At Agidigbo 88.7 FM, we bring the news from top to bottom.
The Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, OISEC, has called for continuous collaboration.
We bring you reports from Oyo State.
The Oyo State House of Assembly has called for thorough investigation.
Southwest Nigeria and the rest of the world
Has clarified that the body did not receive any cash support from international development.
Trust us to keep you informed every hour, every day.
Agidigbo 88.7 FM, the people's voice.